If you watched my last video, I showed my Motivus Maximus, my Van Dessel Motivus Maximus, and I mentioned that I cracked the frame and that I have a new bike project coming up, and I'm going to move all the parts that were on the Motivus over to this new bike. So if you stick around, I'll show you what that new project is. I'm pretty excited about it. So this new bike is actually, I think, an older frame. I think that this bike, which is a Fairdale Goodship, I think may actually date back to like 2015 because it's in a color that I don't think they've made in a long time. So let me pull this out of the box and show you what I've got here. Here's the fork. I'll open this up in a second. And here's the frame. It's still obviously in its wrapping. So I got to get this thing out of the plastic and paper, and then I'm going to put the fork in it temporarily and get it up on my work stand and start putting it together. This bubble wrap is probably wreaking havoc with my audio, so I apologize for that. But there it is. I just got to get this guy unwrapped, and then like I said, I'm going to put the fork in it so I can set it up on the bike stand and start assembling. Actually, I kind of wonder, I think maybe what I may do, I'm going to leave a lot of the wrapping on this bike, put the fork in, and then start unwrapping it once it's on the work stand. I think that'll be a lot easier and safer to do, so that's my plan. One really nice thing about this bike frame from Fairdale is that it comes with an ENVE fork, so that's what I've got in this box here. And in order to get this thing on my work stand and start unwrapping it, the fork has to come out of the packaging first, so we'll get it unwrapped here. This is one of the this fork is one of the reasons I really was attracted to this bike, is because it's an ENVE fork and it's custom painted, so it just really gives the whole bike a really nice kind of semi-custom feel. So there it is. ENVE fork, and check that out. One of my favorite things with this fork is that ENVE allowed Fairdale to paint the fork with the ENVE logo in the same style as the Fairdale logo, which I think is just really cool. So I'm super excited about that. Like I say, it really gives it almost kind of like a custom feel. One thing I was lucky enough to get with this bike, or the bike frame, is a Chris King Dropset headset. So I'll be putting this onto the fork so that I can assemble the fork to the frame and then put it up in my frame holding type of work stand. And then I'll pull all the paper and stuff off the frame. So here's the headset, here's my manual, and I'm going to go into time lapse and see if I can't put this thing together. So in a bit of classic bicycle assembly mayhem, I went to install the Chris King Crown Race onto my ENVE fork, and I realized that my homemade Crown Race setting tool, which is a piece of PVC with couplers, was set up for a 1 1/4 Crown Race. So it's way too big. The 1 1/8 inch Crown Race just drops in there. So this was not going to work. I had to go to Home Depot or Lowe's and pick up some bushings, and I found one that just fits the Crown Race. Let me show you how this works here. It just fits the Crown Race perfectly. And it also drops into my homemade Crown Race setting tool. So I'm going to put these together here and then use this to seat the Crown Race on the fork. And I'm also going to put a little thin coat of grease onto the crown of the fork itself, which is per the ENVE instructions. I looked at instructions for both ENVE and Chris King headset, so I think I'm good to go. I measured the crown of the fork is exactly 30 millimeters with my digital caliper. The inside of the Crown Race is 29.97 millimeters, so I think it's the right interference fit, and I just got to put all this together and tap it onto the fork. So that's what I'm going to do next. Like I said, the first thing I want to do is put a thin coat of Park Tool grease onto the crown of the fork. This may not be 100% essential, but the ENVE fork instructions do say to do this, so, and I've done it on other forks I've done in the past. It seems like a good idea to me to maybe give you a chance of getting that Crown Race back off again in the future if you need to. So, yeah. Alright, so there we go. So that's got a thin coat of grease on it now. And then the crown race, I don't know if we can get this to focus here. Yeah, probably not. But the crown race has a side that says this side up, and it's got angled seats for the bearings. So that's going to drop onto the fork with that side up. And it comes down to the point where the fork expands a little bit, right, where it's about 30 millimeters. And then I got to put my new bushing into my crown race seating tool, and then slide this whole thing over the fork, and basically use this to tap the crown race onto the fork. And the way I'm going to do this is by basically thumping it on the ground. Slow going. Alright, so between a combination of tapping on the homemade fork setting tool with this mallet and inverting the whole thing and kind of tapping it on the ground, I've got the crown race on there pretty good. It's looks like it's fully seated to me. So I think it should be good to go. I don't know how well I'm focused here, but it looks like it's on there all the way. So next step is to put this into the frame. Now that I've got the bike, the fork on the bike, and it's kind of temporarily installed with the stem to hold everything in place, I'm going to go ahead and pull all the protective paper and plastic off the bike and see what it looks like. They did a really nice job of packing this bike up here. Pretty sexy looking so far. All right, I like it. That looks really nice. They've got a little plug in the seat post, and there's obviously a brace here in the rear dropout location, and I'm going to leave those in there for now because I don't need to do anything with those immediately. But I'm going to go through and put in my bottom bracket and put the seat post clamp in there, put on my brakes and derailleurs, and then start cabling it up.